Most recent video, I noticed something that I want you to take a look at.
We've seen the insanity of what's going on in the last few years, and we're just here to call that out.
Okay, now zoom in if you can, because he's got 2 empty frames on his shelf. Those are pictures of his friends. He's showing off all the fun times he had with Dad when he was a kid. Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go. For healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO, for the truth and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet.
Donald Trump's own Defense Department's new spokesperson just made an incriminating admission at the worst possible time for the Trump regime. You see, the Department of Defense, at the order on a bipartisan basis of Congress, they had to show the House and the Senate leaders who are from the Intelligence Committee and Armed Services Committee the video of the United States military striking those fishing boats off the coast of Venezuela, the war crimes.
Another good move, dumbass. That's what Jimmy Kimmel said about Donald Trump Jr. on live television. And that wasn't even the most devastating thing he said. Here's what you need to understand. This isn't one moment where Kimmel destroyed Don Jr. This is a sustained multi-year campaign of mockery that has exposed Donald Trump Jr. as perhaps the most hypocritical, privileged, and embarrassing figure in the Trump orbit. And that's saying something. The Daily Beast reported it perfectly.
Important, Jim, I covered the family separation crisis closely. Will we continue to see policies like separating 5,000 children deliberately from their parents?
You mean the Obama administration?
You know they didn't do that, sir.
Sure.
Will there be a second family separation policy?
It's MSDNC, so I expect nothing less from you clowns. Even today, even 48 hours later, you couldn't wait. You couldn't wait with your lies and with your nonsense. So just get out of here.
As upset as his fellow Republicans pretend to be, no one is more perturbed right now than Trump's most disappointing son.
And guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Trump already beat Stormy Daniels in court? Like, in all fairness, like, isn't she like paying his legal bills or something like that?
Taking place, and from what every member of Congress and senator who's seen this, what they're basically saying is this is grim. This is one of the most sickening videos that they've ever seen. It is a clear war crime, is what we're hearing a lot of them saying. So what has the White House done? Well, their new Pentagon press secretary, she just held a press conference. And at the press conference, she said, you know what, Donald Trump and Hegseth, they're with it. They supported all of this. Of course it comes at their direction. Here.
Kimmel has had a years-long dislike of Donald Jr., rivaling his feud with Donald Trump himself. Not as a side effect, not as collateral damage. Kimmel specifically dislikes Don Jr. as an individual. And over the past year, he's shown exactly why. Let me walk you through how Jimmy Kimmel systematically dismantled Donald Trump Jr.'s entire persona, piece by piece, attack by attack. Because what Kimmel exposed isn't just funny.
It's actually glorious to watch because it means we don't just have this next 4 years to do it. We'll likely have a 12-year runway with incredible candidates. The other great thing about the last 4 years is Republicans and conservatives, and America First conservatives in particular, we finally learned to fight, Sean. It's the first time where we're actually on the offense. We're not just playing defense anymore. They're the ones playing defense, and they're in total panic.
We're learning much more about the Orange Goblin, Donald Trump, and what went down, or more accurately, did not go down on January 6th. You may remember for 3 hours, Trump just hung out saying nothing while a violent crowd attacked the Capitol.
I want you to watch this right here.
Secretary has been very clear in every statement that we've released about these strikes that they are presidentially directed. And the chain of command functions as it should. And we make sure that commanders on the ground their positions are taken into account, and they are able to tell us and make decisions if they see things that need to be flagged. But at the end of the day, the Secretary and the President are the ones directing.
Now, that was Kingsley Wilson. That's the new press secretary for the Pentagon during her first press secretary briefing, and she did it in front of all of the right-wing extremist press. They kicked out the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, the AP, Reuters, all of them, because they demanded that they get to edit, the Pentagon gets to edit the work.
It's the perfect illustration of privilege pretending to be populism. And it all starts with 3 words: another good move, dumbass. It's September 4th, 2024. Kimmel's back from summer break, and J.D. Vance is already a disaster as Trump's VP pick. Awkward campaign appearances, childless cat ladies, comments. The most unpopular VP selection in recent memory. And who pushed Trump to pick him? Donald Trump Jr. Kimmel wasn't about to let that slide.
Was just a corrupt guy. That was the guy I guess they wanted to give the Minister of Defense of Ukraine to. I'm sure he was a very loyal patriot to America. But it doesn't just end with her. I mean, Kamala Harris repeatedly, and I quote, "Trump is a threat to our democracy and fundamental freedoms."
He was watching from the White House, soaking it all in. So Liz Cheney of Wyoming last night shared a series of frantic text messages they uncovered that were sent that day to Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, from notable insiders, including his son, Don Jr., as the Capitol was getting stormed.
Of the journalists, and so all the journalists were like, nope. But then these right-wing extremist propagandists like Laura Loomer and Vincent Dow, they showed up. Let me just show you another small portion of that press conference of Kingsley Wilson, where she talks about, the deep state press, they're so bad. Here, play this clip.
Welcome all of you here to the Pentagon briefing room. As official new members of the Pentagon Press Corps, we're glad to have you. Legacy media chose to self-deport from this building, and if you look at the numbers, it's pretty clear why no one followed them.
Now, take a look at the types of people who are now the press corps at the Pentagon. You have people like Vince Dow.
There are a lot of things Trump isn't good at, Kimmel said. One of the things he's especially not good at is picking running mates. He made a huge mistake with this J.D. Vance, who can't stop stepping in it. Then came the shot at Don Jr. Another good move, dumbass. But he wasn't done. If Trump loses this election, he's going to sue his son to take the junior away. Think about that. Kimmel suggested Trump's so embarrassed by his son's terrible advice that he'd legally disown him.
You just nuked a MSNBC reporter from the floor of the convention. The convention hasn't even we've barely even gotten started.
Yeah, no.
I
walked onto the floor.
20 million views on get out of here.
Well, it was worse than that. They only played the 20-second clip of sort of the end of it, but I don't know.
His hands move faster than his brain. They're like, what is it? It's like if Jim Henson had no puppets. How you doing over there? I'm doing real good. The important thing for DJ TJ isn't necessarily defending his father and the Trump family. What's most important?
Who goes, your office belongs to me now. He drinking beer? Are they drinking beer right there? You have Laura Loomer saying the Washington Post used to occupy this desk. Now it's mine. Right-wing extremist Laura Loomer saying now it's mine. How horrific can you be? And meanwhile, you have these MAGA Congress members and senators, they're trying to justify what's going down. So you have someone like Mark Wayne Mullen, MAGA propagandist senator. He's like, if there was a second strike.
That's not just mockery. That's questioning whether Don Jr. has any value to his own father. But here's what makes Kimmel's campaign against Don Jr. so effective. He's not just making jokes. He's exposing a fundamental hypocrisy, and nowhere is that clearer than what happened in November 2024. Don Jr. posted on Instagram about Ukrainian President Zelensky. The caption read, POV, you're 38 days from losing your allowance.
Don Jr. was not at Daddy Donald's last night. The prodigal son was being grilled as part of the $250 million case against their business. There he is, tiny soprano. I wonder what's going through his head right now.
I should have worn makeup.
Oh, yeah, good one. Here's the thing about Don Jr. What he lacks in intelligence, he also lacks in charisma. So,
You know what? I'd love to see that across the board. Sometimes the political climate isn't that much. We've all heard about Trump derangement syndrome. We've seen what they've lied about my family. I was an agent of Russia, but Hunter Biden's laptop was totally Russian disinformation. Turns out the opposite was true. The media did that. They created so much of that environment. The media has radicalized the people that are trying to kill my father. I've had to deal with that twice now in the last 2 months. I've had to have that conversation with my 5 young children twice in the last 2 months about someone trying to shoot their grandfather.
It wouldn't just be to take out the survivors. It's because we can't let them run. They were gonna run away. They were gonna run away in the water? Have you read the Department of Defense manual, the Navy's manual, all military? Did you realize that quite literally, this is hors de combat? This is quite literally a war crime in our own manual. You can't run anywhere in the water. Here, play this clip.
And apparently the admiral who was involved in this has been making phone calls, it's my understanding, with some people on the Hill.
He was mocking Ukraine's military aid, implying Trump would cut it off. Standard MAGA stuff. Except Kimmel saw the opening and went for the kill. Bold words, Kimmel said, from a man who is definitely still on his father's phone plan. The audience erupted, but he kept going. If I was Donald Trump Jr., I wouldn't ever use the word allowance in any situation. And then the question that cuts to the core of everything.
let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO, for the truth.
It's on us to recognize the threat Trump possesses. Does one of us have to come out alive? Ha, 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 ha. I mean, these are Kamala Harris, Joe Biden. It's time to put a bullseye in Trump. Like, these are direct quotes. There is one existential threat. It's Donald Trump. That's another Joe Biden. Gwen Waltz, bye-bye, Donald Trump.
Have you spoken to him?
I haven't spoken to him. I have spoke to Secretary Hegseth. I have been briefed on this. I haven't reviewed the documents yet. We plan on doing that today. But I do understand that this was a proactive strike that was well within the authority of the president and within international waters to be able to go after these terrorist organizations. And once again, we haven't seen the video of it yet. If there was a second strike, it wouldn't be to just simply, take out the survivors, is because there was still a threat or an opportunity for them to run. Maybe the first strike didn't just disable the boat.
What is his job? Is being horrible in occupation now? If you're finding this deep dive into Kimmel's systematic takedown of Don Jr. valuable, hit that subscribe button. We're documenting every moment where accountability journalism exposes hypocrisy, and you don't want to miss what comes next. Let's talk about what Kimmel exposed with that allowance comment.
And I am a tiny part of the Disney Corporation. They welcomed me back on the air, and I thank them for that. And I think unjustly, this puts them at risk. The President of the United States made it very clear he wants to see me and the hundreds of people who work here fired from our jobs. Our leader celebrates Americans losing their livelihoods because he can't take a joke.
The climate. They say it's your dad's fault, and they want him to stop talking so much. Is he going to stop?
No, he's not going to stop. He's going to keep fighting. The same resolve that he had in Butler, Pennsylvania, when he came back defiant after getting shot in the face. That's the resolve that kept our country safe. That's the resolve that kept dictators and our adversaries in check.
But didn't destroy the boat, so it was able to still move forward. But I believe in the briefing that I received, Bill, that this was well within the authority of the president and Secretary Hegseth to use lethal force in this matter.
No wiggle room?
I don't see any wiggle room.
Now, one of the shifting narratives that the MAGA Republicans or Pete Hegseth and Trump are now trying to put out there is, well, actually, we had to do the second strike in order to destroy the drugs and make sure the boat shifted. Make sure the boat shifted. And then they're going with this. You have MAGA Republican Congress member Van Orden.
Donald Trump Jr. is a 40-something man who has never built anything himself. Every job he's had came through his father. He lives off his father's wealth. He got his platform because of his father's name. And yet he's constantly posting about being a tough, working-class MAGA warrior. The cognitive dissonance is staggering.
This puts them at risk. The President of the United States made it very clear he wants to see me and the hundreds of people who work here fired from our jobs. Our leader celebrates Americans losing their livelihoods because he can't take a joke. He will somehow...
saying, the American people don't care about this anyway, killing people, whatever. Here, play this clip.
They have Trump derangement syndrome. They have Trump derangement syndrome on their brain, and they just can't get rid of it. So no matter what Donald Trump says, they're going to take an opposite position. Donald Trump could tell these people that oxygen's good for you. Within a half an hour, there'd be 500,000 people in the country walking around with plastic bags over their head. It's absolutely silly. And let's directly address this war crimes garbage. And let me give you a different example. If you're on the battlefield and you shoot a javelin missile at a tank, and the tank is not completely destroyed, you shoot another one.
And Kimmel won't let anyone forget it. September 2025, Cracker Barrel controversy. The restaurant chain was redesigning their logo, removing the man from it. MAGA world lost their minds. Don Jr. posted, "WTF is wrong with Cracker Barrel." Kimmel's response was surgical. Cosplay grits gobbler New York prep school Nepo baby Don Jr. whined.
Our president is very busy prosecuting his enemies. His goon squad today indicted his own former national security advisor, John Bolton. He is just brazenly lying about the economy and grocery prices. But he did have a chat with Vlad Putin today, which we know because while he was on the phone with Putin, he posted, "I am speaking to President Putin now."
If that boat was not completely destroyed by the first missile, you shoot another one. And you keep doing that. And you got to understand, the average Americans do not care about these narco-terrorists at all. They care about the fact that their brothers and sisters and mothers and husbands have died of fentanyl overdose. That's what we really, truly care about. We care about our fellow American citizens.
I want to now bring in Congressmember Jim Himes, ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressmember, I read your quote before after you saw the video of what went down at those strikes on September 2nd. You said, "What I saw in that room was one of the most troubling things I've seen in my time in public service."
It's accountability. It's journalism. It's holding someone up to the light and showing exactly who they are versus who they pretend to be. And the most brutal part? Kimmel's not done. As long as Don Jr. keeps posting inflammatory stuff on social media, keeps giving terrible advice, keeps pretending to be something he's not, Kimmel's going to keep providing receipts. Because Don Jr. can't help himself. He's going to post about the next working class controversy. He's going to mock the next person's funding.
Our Secretary of Health and Human Sacrifice, RFK Jr., appeared with President Trump at the White House today to unveil his report on chronic disease that warns about the toxins found in ultra-processed foods like fried chicken, fast food burgers and fries, pepperoni pizza, soft drinks, ice cream bars, and so on. And Trump sat right next to him listening to all this. Listen, Trump's favorite food is toxins. His blood type is honey mustard. He's not gonna, I'm glad RFK's working on this. None of it is gonna get done. When Trump finally figures out he's trying to take away his Doritos, mark my words, Bobby is out and Diddy is in. That's right.
You have two individuals in clear distress without any means of locomotion with a destroyed vessel who were killed by the United States. What can you share with us about what you saw when the Admiral provided that video during the meeting?
Yeah, well, I don't know what else I can tell you. It was exceedingly hard to watch. From a legal standpoint, you can say that this is a war. I don't agree with that. It's not a war. If it were a war, it would be authorized by Congress. But even if you stipulate that it's a war, there is an extremely specific...
A New York prep school Nepo baby playing cosplay grits gobbler, giving dumbass advice, questioning others' allowances while living off his father, with a job description that can only be answered as, "Is being horrible an occupation now?" Thanks to Kimmel, that's Don Jr.'s legacy. And unlike his father, who can fight back with rallies and Truth Social posts and media appearances, Don Jr.'s stuck with it.